Welcome to LAR Documents' extended coverage of the Intersect Palm Springs Art and Design Fair at the Palm Springs Convention Center, held in February of 2026. While modest in size, the Intersect Art and Design Fair proved to be mighty, with a variety of well-curated booths and international exhibitors. Returning for its fourth iteration after a year off, it featured its largest and most diverse roster to date. Intersect Palm Springs gave a special focus to the intersections of technology, light, and art, and highlighted the history of the abstract and light and space movements in Southern California, themes prevalent throughout many of the exhibitors. We cherished how the fair provided ample space for various gallery types, from blue chip to mid-level galleries to artist associations and independent artists. We aimed to briefly cover as much of it as we could in sequential order, although some galleries caught our attention more than others. We especially appreciated our conversation with curator Sharissa Iqbal, who gave us a walkthrough of her project Radiant Space, Fields of Vision in Southern California 1950 to 2025, the centerpiece of Intersect Palm Springs. We begin our tour now with her.
Hi, my name is Sharissa Iqbal, and we are at the 2026 Intersect Art and Design Fair at an exhibition that I've curated called Radiant Space, Fields of Vision in Southern California. This exhibition brings together the work of 20 abstract artists from Los Angeles who have explored visual abstraction as a means of engaging viewers' experiences of light, space, and color. And here we're seeing a work by Lorser Feidelson, who was one of the early hard edge painters in Los Angeles and a part of this movement known as abstract classicism or hard edge painting. And it's a beautiful example of his work that takes the line and instead of using the line to define a form, uses the line and celebrates the line itself. And this is a work by the artist Vasa, who has been working in plastics since the late 1960s. He moved from Yugoslavia to LA and has been making really innovative plastic work since then. He's still in the studio every day at age 93, and his works are really amazing to experience in person and to see through and to walk around, and they give you a new sense of the space that you're in. Here's another great example of hard edge painting. This is John McLaughlin, and the work is Untitled from 1953. It is one of the works that was very influential to a lot of other artists in this show. John McLaughlin's works are really visual spaces that you can enter into and kind of contemplate and have a meditative experience with. This is a work by Duane Valentine. It's from 1969. It's called Portal Red. And it's an example of the artist's use of plastics in a really innovative way. When this technology, plastic casting technology, was newly available to artists in the late 1960s, he created very captivating works that invite you to walk around and see through, and again, sort of like the Vasa work, allow you to see your own space differently, which is characteristic of a lot of light and space art. This is a work by Lita Albuquerque based on a pendulum, and it is really interesting the way in which this idea of a hanging form that might swing back and forth gives us a sense of motion and time and space all at once through this composition. Florence Arnold is an artist who has not been celebrated as much as some of her other peers from the hard edge abstract movement. She made in her career a number of these really wonderful abstract compositions that we can see an influence of John McLaughlin in quite a bit, but taking it to a much more colorful dimension. In this corner, we have works that really explore luminosity in different ways. This is a work by Oscar Fischinger that relates to his experiments in early abstract animation. And there's a sense of motion, even in a still composition. There's a sense of movement, of liveliness. And it's incredible how he was able to do this through the medium of painting, as well as his abstract films. Laddie John Dill has been making these light sentences since the late 1960s. And in these works, he fuses together different colors of bulbs to create what he calls light sentences. It's like a sentence in different colors. And the work is luminous. You can see how it is the color is spreading out to the corners of the wall and expanding out from the work itself into the space of the viewer's environment. And this is a work by Norman Zammit, who was very interested in gradients and gradations and was interested in both patterns as well as the natural environment. And so this is a work of his that explores gradients and actually used computer technology to come up with the proportions of paint that he would mix to get these colors and different gradients. This is a work by Eric Zammit. And it's one of his works in laminated plastic. And he's an artist who's experimented a lot with laminating or fusing together different layers of plastic. This is a work that Eric took from his home right before everything burned in the Altadena fire. Unfortunately, he lost his home and his studio in the fire. So this is a really rare work that exemplifies his experiments with layers of plastic that really allow the viewer to experience color and light, the surrounding light, the directed light in interesting ways. This is a work by Channa Horwitz, and this is an artist who really extensively studied patterns and colors. This is an example of one of Channa Horwitz's sonokinetography works, meaning sound, motion, notation. And it is actually a score that can be performed in a number of ways. It can be, if you assign a sound to each color, this could be performed musically. If you assign a motion to each color, this could be performed as a dance. So in a way, this can be compared to algorithms in that it is a series of operations that are outlined through graphical form. It's a little difficult to experience some of these light and space artworks through images rather than being in person because they change very much depending on how you're positioned and as you move around the work in time and space. But we're seeing a work here by James Turrell, which is a holographic work from 2005. And James Turrell is known for his use of light in ways that create these interesting visual experiences that viewers can enter into and experience their space in unique ways. And this work is prismatic, it's holographic, and depending on where you are, you can see a variety of different colors and color spectra. And that's something we also see in the work of Gisela Colon, whose work is iridescent in a way that shifts depending on where you're looking at the work from. And it almost appears that there's light coming out of the work, but this is sheerly reflection. This is the material of this kind of pigment that bounces the light back. Her work often takes shape in these organic forms that are a bit distinct from other artists working in light and space art with more cleaner edges and sharper lines. This is a softer form that's suggestive of natural forms from the micro to the macro. Most people know Larry Bell from his cube sculptures, his glass cubes, but this is an example of one of his works called a 3DVD. And what we're seeing is mylar coated with a metal, atomized metal that's been vacuum coated onto the plastic. And this is the same process that Larry Bell uses in his glass sculptures to coat glass using atomized metals. But here he's applied the process to mylar, which has become twisted, and it's inside of a vitrine with a tapered edge. So there's a lot of interesting ways that this relates to his cube sculptures and is something different at the same time based on the irregularity and the kind of shifting curves in this work that are so different from the angularity of his other works. This is a work by Helen Lundeberg, an artist associated with hard edge painting who explored the theme of planets in her work starting in the 1960s. And this work is from 1965. It's a really compelling example of the ways that she uses flat planes of solid color to suggest space and depth. And here we have a suggestion of cosmic space through just a couple geometric forms. It's both abstract and it's suggestive of a planet. And it's also suggestive of space in the sense that we seem to have some kind of overlapping or almost an eclipse of forms happening in this work. This section is a bit cosmic in its focus. We have Lundeberg's planet paintings, and then this work by Joe Ray called Pill, which is in its kind of elliptical pill-shaped form, suggestive of almost something cosmic, something celestial. And we see this interest in the cosmos in June Wayne's work as well. June Wayne was a prolific printmaker in the post-war period, and she established a workshop called Tamarin Workshop, where other artists could learn about printmaking and experiment with printmaking techniques in new ways, like this work by June Wayne that uses cutting-edge printmaking techniques to depict the cosmic phenomena of stellar wind. The works in this exhibition that span from hard edge painting to light and space art are some of my favorite artworks to look at and to study. I first came across LA abstract art while studying in college, and it's much less known than New York abstraction. And I took an interest in learning more about these artists and earned my PhD in the subject of abstract art in Southern California. So I'm so pleased to be able to show these works in Palm Springs at the Intersect Fair, which is a great opportunity to celebrate art from the area, which draws inspiration from the natural environment, the light, the space, the atmosphere of Southern California.
Be sure to subscribe to LA Art Documents to stay in touch with the best in contemporary art. Now enjoy the rest of our extended walkthrough of Intersect Palm Springs 2026.
have it ready for you. And it.
I'm in, divide my time between Sedona, Arizona, and Oregon.
I don't want to be a culturist. I want to be a performance.
Well, you know what I mean? I would put it in both because, well, it
No one ever knows.
Yes, that's one famous and infamous for That makes more sense. Because we're so far away. If you take Sunset this way, you'll get into Hollywood and Paramount with our transfer. It's, you know, I'm gonna let people out.
Yes. Both of those.
And it was really good. And my wife wrote it.
to get up and be as much once they got up there, they just kept going.
I'm sure it can happen.
No garlic here, man.
Her work. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you. shelters and said, I'm interested in people.
Very beautiful.
studio down there, but I
And if you're going to Scottsdale like everybody else.
And that's what earned the right to do this. This
37 by 45.
Vinland. Wineland. But when I saw it,
The gallery up here. I love this man. Who is it? This man. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
it's probably fairly small.
So are you in the junior area?
Weight of stones.